Yo, what up guys, Shadowface here. Today I'm just gonna go through a quick video talking about some jewels. So I'm gonna go through two ways of understanding jewels. One way is the simple one, you don't have to look at the jewel, you don't have to think about them. I'm gonna teach you how I make money selling jewels for very little to no effort. This is a method that works for selling other types of items as well. So I got all these jewels from doing a bunch of maps earlier today. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take an orb of augmentation, gonna hit every single one. Gonna take a regal orb, hit every one, and I'm gonna take all of these exiles and then just click everything. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna throw them into a tab. I'm gonna throw them into my highest price tab right now, 269. I know, funny number. I'm gonna put all of them in, and as I do my maps and everything, every one or two maps for me, I lower my prices aggressively. Every time I exit the map, I'm gonna click on my stash, I'm gonna lower the price of everything by about 10 exile. Gonna put them down like this, drop all the prices of everything, lower the prices of everything, and that's basically my process for how I sell jewels quickly without wasting too much time reading them. I feel like I gotta explain this because there's a lot of people who watch my videos who are new to the game. But basically, if you're wondering how I'm like pricing all of these without like right clicking them and setting a price, what you can do is you can basically just right click on a stash tab. This has to be a premium stash tab. It can't be like these. These are like the non-premium ones. When you right click the tab, you see nothing. You have to be in a premium tab. You right click it and you get all these options. You set it to public. And then you click on, instead of each item individually priced, you click on exact item and you set the price you want. And then you can just, change the price from here. And that is how you get an easy way to price your items without, right clicking each of them individually. And as you do this, you eventually end up with a tab like this, where you have a bunch of jewels that are not selling. I mean, I saw a bunch of these, I just logged on for 19 exile, but this is about as low as I'll go for a bunch of jewels. What you do when you reach the lowest amount of price you would, exit a map for is you just go ahead and take all of these jewels over here. I'm going to take all the green ones out and I'm going to throw them in my Reforging bench. So I know it really sucks, they're slow. They all come back rare because I put them in as a rare, but they may come back with 3 mods, so I'm going to hit them all with a... And right now, I'm gonna let you know that if I throw them in like this, I might get spam because one of these might be good. I'm not gonna read them. But if you get spam for a certain trade, that's when you know you have priced it too low. So let me just throw them in anyway. Okay, another one. Another one is getting sold, I guess. Now it's time to move on to the blue ones. If you're like colorblind or something, you can type in Sapphire, Ruby, or Emerald to like highlight them. Because I know red and green is a pretty common color blindness. So yeah, this is the low effort way of doing your jewels. I'm just gonna put them in for like 3 divine, don't really care. I'm just gonna lower this by like a divine every other map eventually. So yeah, that is my strategy for how I price stuff. And as we have just spent, 10 minutes in the hideout, I'm just gonna lower everything else. This is the strategy of how I basically price, not just jewels, but actually everything in the game. But I'm gonna be honest, the jewels probably sell most frequently and for the most amount of currency. I don't really spend a lot of time crafting. I don't really do any profit crafts or anything. So yeah, this is how you casually get currency from trading, I guess. You can do the same with featurings as well. I do something similar. So now let's get into the part where I actually talk about jewels for real. So now we're going to the fun part. We're gonna actually talk about jewels and jewel synergy and all the weird stuff about them. So let's start with the easiest to talk about, Sapphire Jewels. A lot of really good mods here, a lot of really desirable ones as well. Just to start off, jewels, unlike other rare items, can only have 4 mods on it, unless they are corrupted, in which they can have up to 5 mods. They can have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, unless they are corrupted. So right now, if we look at a Sapphire Jewel, immediately we can identify that some prefixes that are way more desirable than others. We're going to be looking at things like increased maximum energy shield. This one's going to be really important. I think in this set of prefixes, elemental damage is king because it's kind of build agnostic. It doesn't care if you're playing spells, it doesn't care if you're playing an attack. A lot of attack builds are elemental damage as well, which makes this a really desirable trait. These 2 spell damage nodes are also pretty good. So you may have noticed that there are a bunch of ailment related affixes. and every jewel has their own ailment types and specialties. I'm just going to explain it real quick. Bleed and Ignite are tied to Strength. They are on the Rubies instead of other jewels. Poison is an ailment tied to Dexterity, so you will find all the poison duration and magnitude mods on a Emerald instead. There's only one specialty when it comes to Sapphires, and I think they specialize in spell crit ailments. And you're wondering, spell crit ailments, that's pretty weird and specific, right? But there is one ascendancy in this game that specializes in spell critical strike with an ailment, and that is Blood Mage. They can do bleed with elemental damage. They can do crit very easily. So if you notice, there's a prefix that gives you increased magnitude of ailment you inflict with crits. And there's another one that's critical damage bonus and critical spell damage bonus. That is really fucking crazy. If you get 2 of them in the suffix slot, you actually get 40% increase critical damage bonus. That is practically unheard of for 1 skill point. And you can still get increased magnitude of ailments and increased magnitude of damaging ailments with critical hit. So there is a place for ailment mods on Sapphires. It's just really niche. The suffixes are where the really interesting mods are actually. Every jewel has a maximum elemental resistance affix. For Sapphire it's cold resistance, but on a ruby it's fire, and on an emerald it's lightning. So this one is really good, but I think the way the game is right now, getting max resistance isn't really that popular because a lot of builds are, Gemling stack, which already gets a lot of max res and it caps out at 90. But this is a really good affix in my opinion. But I've noticed it's not very desirable right now. Life on kill, it should be good, but the way the game is now, life is really unpopular. So mana on kill is really good for 2 reasons. Mine over mana builds, their mana is their defense. Another reason is that if you look over here, that's the triggered spell thing, right? It's like all those cast on shock, cast on freeze, helmet things. They struggle a lot with their mana, especially when they're clearing because they send out like 1,000,000 comets every second or something. So mana on kill is really good for them. Increased freeze build up. This is a pretty hard to come by stat as well. Meta skills. This is basically any cast on whatever kind of gem. Any gem that needs energy to cast on minion death, cast on free. Meta skills gain increased energy. This is a pretty hard to come by stat. This is very good on a jewel. This combined with like the triggered spell damage and like energy shield nodes will make it really easy to sell. Crit damage bonus is always more valuable than critical hit chance in my opinion. But a jewel may still sell if it has critical hit chance and critical damage bonus. But most importantly, you want to see the critical damage bonus first. Oh, and another thing as well is that this energy shield at stun threshold, I think it's a pretty good stat. I do not know how the calculation works exactly, but stun threshold is typically calculated off your life. Even if you're Chaos Inoculation, it takes the amount of life you would have if you were not spec'd into Chaos Inoculation. And because those builds generally don't get any life affixes on their gear, they have like 600 life or something, so they tend to get stun locked really often. So you kind of really need this stat. But I don't know if getting it on the jewel is the best idea because you can find it really easily on your passive tree. Jewels probably are a big part of minion damage. I'm not 100% sure. Haven't played minions in Power of Exile 2. But minions right now are not very popular, unlike when the game just came out and everyone was playing Infernalist. So I wouldn't waste too much time looking at these. Let's go talk about the Emerald Jewel instead. Right now, I'm just gonna go on my way, talk about one of the prefixes that are really popular. There's one affix here that is really powerful compared to the rest, and it's this one. The one that says increase bonuses gained from equipped Quiver. This affix literally only exists on a single cluster in the passive tree. There's only one place you can find this. This line only exists on this part of the passive tree. Increased bonuses gained from equipped Quiver, you get 20%, 50, and then another 15 and a 15. You get 80% from this cluster over here. It is about 5 points. You can see I'm going to search for Quiver and I'm going to scroll out. Literally not available anywhere else. Not on an ascendancy, not on the other side of the tree. There's nowhere else you can get that stat except for this. caster. And you get only 80%. And why is this important? The fact that you can find it on a jewel means that we can hit certain really important breakpoints. And what am I talking about? I'm actually specifically talking about the affix on your quiver. If you zoom in over here, you can see that it has +2 to level of all projectile skills. So if we have 100% increased bonuses gained from quiver, that +2 turns into a +4. And all I need is 2 emerald jewels that add up to 20% increased quiver bonuses. That will knock up my projectile skills from a +3 just from the passive tree into a +4. And if you actually take a look at my tree, I have one of these at 13%, another one here, 15, another one over here, 14, 14, another one over here, 14 as well. All these add up to 150% increased bonuses from my quiver. What it does is it lets my +2 from my quiver turn into a +5 because I'm at 150% now. I know that's basic math, but I'm just gonna mention it anyway because that's a really big breakpoint. I'm basically getting an extra gem level. So yeah, this stat really desirable, really expensive, practically the most expensive affix I can imagine. Although the roll range is pretty high, 5 to 15%, and because how we have to hit the breakpoints using as little jewels as possible, the range of the roll on this affix is actually really important. The same is true for a few other affixes as well. For example, this maximum elemental resist. If you get a 1%, your jewel will probably not sell as well as if it had a 2%. Same for like the movement speed as well, you really want 2% as well. Or something like energy shield, you don't want 10%, you want 20%, the difference is huge. A lot of many other good affixes here that I'm going to talk about real quick. Like I said about ailments, magnitude of ailments is basically a multiplier to your ailment damage. This is not the only ailment modification affix that is available. You have things such as magnitude of poison. You can get both of these together. You also have things such as chance to inflict ailments. This is kind of not that good. You can get this really easily on your passive tree. But you have things such as ailment speed. Let me just type in Ctrl F ailments. If you get all 4 of these, for example, let's see. Damaging ailments deal damage faster, increased duration. These two, they practically multiply off each other. You might be wondering, why will I increase my duration and then, shorten the duration? That's because when you increase the duration, you don't actually lose damage per second. That increased duration is going to just extend how long you're dealing your damage per second from your damage over time. And then after doing that, you practically have increased the amount of damage over time you get from a single ignite, for example. After you do that, you get an affix that makes your ailments do damage faster. You are now compressing it back to maybe the original duration, but with more damage within that duration. So you're getting more damage per second in a sense, which is what you want. You want things that get hit by your ailment to die faster. There are also the poison nodes as well, like down here, poison duration. Shock is an ailment, but I'm not going to consider it. For this, it's not a damage over time. There's poison duration, poison magnitude. So if you have a jewel with things such as increased magnitude of ailments, increased poison damage, ailment damage faster, longer duration of ailments, this is a really good jewel. This would probably sell really well. But there's also another combination of things that sells really well. And there's people that play Poisonous Concoction. They typically wear Widow Hill because Poisonous Concoction is a projectile. You can get gem levels from your quiver. And because of that, they wear Widow Hill. They get a bunch of like these increased bonuses from quiver. And because they are Poisonous Concoction, they really want all these like ailment stuff. Increased magnitude of poison, increased bonuses from quiver. Deal damage faster, increased duration of damage, and that's probably a jewel worth a few divine. You can see that the chance of getting the equipped quiver mod on your jewel is actually astronomically low. Not 0.5%, not 0.4%. So tell you what, if you actually get a jewel with this on, it might be worth gambling with your Chaos Orbs to actually try and get a better, combination of mods. If it's really good, please just go and sell it. If it's really bad, it might be worth using Chaos Orb to try and make it a usable jewel. 3 mods is good, 4 mods is perfect. Something like this, increased bonuses with equipped quiver. You can just get away with just getting any like generic damage mods. Attack speed, whatever. Attack speed, and maybe, I don't know, movement speed. This is going to be really expensive. Let me just show you. Something like a Deadeye playing any bow skill would want this. Increase movement speed, increase bonuses from Quiver, and like elemental damage for example. This is just 3 mods. It's already a single divine. This is 1 dead mod. You know, crossbows can't use a quiver. This guy is a corrupted one. He has 5 mods on it. Yeah, and if you check over here, this guy's one is 6%, 6%. If I say I want a minimum of like 10% for the equip quiver roll, they go up to like, you know, 4 divine, 8 divine. I know this because I bought a bunch of these myself. Movement speed is really hard to get. It pretty much only exists on like the ranger and duelist side of the skill tree, of the passive tree. Practically doesn't exist. Attack speed is nice, not necessary. You know, all these 2 damage mods, they're whatever, you know. It's just nice to get it on your jewel, I guess. We just got nothing else to get. So yeah, really expensive combination of mods. I guess you could say that the life recovery from Flask is also a really good mod. This is because there are some Deadeye players, me for example, that are using this Flask known as Olroth's Resolve. And what it does is that it basically lets you get instant recovery, and any excess life recovery that goes past your maximum life gets added as a guard, which is an extra life pool for 10 seconds. And this is really nice, because if you got extra recovery from your jewel here, you are just getting, you know, extra effective health when you're using this Flask. And on a life build, you know, it's really unpopular because we have relative ways to skill it, relative ways to increase our maximum life. This is one of the many ways. Although you have to sacrifice a jewel affix, is better than, you know, something that you can't even use, like, I don't know, increased crossbow reload speed. Now lastly, we're going to talk about the probably least popular jewel of them all, the Ruby one. There are a variety of reasons why this jewel is just not popular. It can't sell well. I hardly sold any of these. Let's just take a look real quick and tell me who is going to want increased thorn damage, increased armor, break increased armor, increased damage against enemies with fully broken armor. Let's be real, if you're in the end game and you broke someone's armor and they are still alive, you are probably in trouble. You are probably cooked. All I can say is that there are valuable mods on this jewel, and I think, in my opinion, it is pretty much just the rage nodes over here, because they are actually pretty build agnostic. You know, you don't have to be using armor, you don't have to be using maces, you don't have to be using totems, you don't have to be using war cries, which a lot of these basically require you to. You don't have to be using thorns. I don't know if anyone's doing that. Maybe Matthew is. I know he tried a thorns build. But rage works even if you're a range build. Rage works if you're on a quarterstaff. It works, it's just really hard to get rage build up. It's hard to get rage build up, it's hard to keep it. And that's the main challenge, but you know, people using a quarterstaff can get away with it. They can get maximum rage. They can get rage on melee hit. Rage when hit, it's alright, but because monks tend to go like energy shoot, evasion, maybe you don't want this affix. Maybe you'd rather take this, you know, you have more agency. You choose when to hit someone. You're practically always hitting someone when you're in combat, and you have to put yourself in danger by getting hit. So yeah, maximum rage is good. Rage on hit is good. Sadly, I think that's about it. I don't know. Skill cost converted to life, that's pretty hard to come by. So I guess there's some use here for this. There are ignite nodes as well, but overall, this is a really disappointing set of affixes for this jewel. There is one saving grace for this jewel, is that it gives you maximum fire resistance, which is what Infernalists really want to stack, because they take elemental damage as fire resistance, right? As fire damage, right? They take a portion of elemental damage, like lightning and cold, as fire. So when you raise your maximum fire resistance, part of it also applies to lightning and cold damage. And that's about it. And I guess Cloak of Flame, you know, mitigating the fire damage from Flame. But that's about it. This is a really pathetic jewel. Honestly, you might just, you know, not bother with it. I've sold relative of these. Almost all of the expensive jewels I've sold are the green and blue ones. Maybe don't bother with this one. I don't know what you're gonna do with weapon swap speed. I mean, there is probably a really overpowered build that uses like weapon swap and whatever. I just think people haven't really come up with it yet. And that's the problem. Even if something is strong, even if maces are like sleeper OP, which they are not. I've played maces before. Even if they're really good, if they're not popular, it's not gonna sell. And I'm just gonna tell you, all the popular builds are going energy shoot and whatever crap. I have no idea what it is anymore. But it's definitely not Warcries, not Maces. Oh, skill effect duration. Skill effect duration, low key, this really hard to come by stat as well, really powerful. I think things like Spark are affected by it because how long does Spark stay on screen? I think it is influenced by this. I gotta go check. Yes, there are some mods here that are really powerful, pretty much just these, you know. Minions having additional physical damage reduction. Oh yeah, so percentage physical damage reduction is really hard to come by. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know if this sells well. Because I have no idea if minions are dying to physical damage as often as they're dying to some stupid damage over time or troll of fire or whatever. But this stat, it's in pretty big numbers. And this stat is really hard to come by and it's really good. Having minions on a red jewel, you probably need to get maximum fire resist. So you need these two. Because the only people who would wear this jewel instead of a blue one is probably an Infernalist. I hope you guys enjoyed the format where I gave you a really brainless, easy way to price jewels if you really don't give a shit about reading them. I know I don't. I do understand what makes a jewel expensive. I do know what mods to look out for. But I'll tell you the truth, I do not have the patience to look at anything after I get out of a map. I'm going to throw all of them in a tab, look at them later, and I do not want to look at them for more than 1 second. If I look at them for 1 second, that's 1 second I'm not playing the game. So yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed my video so far. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know what kind of video you guys want to see next. Thank you guys so much.